Texas Gardener. I'm Tom Spencer. If you're looking for a memorable way to spend Mother's Day weekend, we've got the gift right here. The Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center's Gardens on Tour is a great chance to visit spectacular gardens and collect a few ideas. Today we've got a preview of what you'll see this year. Right now, let's visit one of the gardens taped in early March when perennials and rosettes were getting ready for the big show.
On a chilly morning in early March, Roxanne and Ira Yates' garden soaks up the raindrops for a wildflower explosion on the way. Ira grew up on this ranch and in 1982 was recognized as an outstanding conservation rancher. When he and Roxanne built their home and guest house casitas here in the late 90s, they wanted to restore a sustainable habitat for wildlife and beneficial insects. In 2007, designer Jennifer Schaffer joined gardener Roxanne in that endeavor and to frame the home with gardens that reflect the land.
The philosophy overall, and this is a nice marriage between my own design ideas and the Yates design ideas, is to really blend in and fit with the place and to make a strong emphasis on building habitat.
Jennifer gave the gardens native plants that sustain wildlife, but designed them for a casually formal look around the home and casitas.
It is a garden, so we don't really, especially in the areas close to the house, close to the living spaces, we don't really want a wilderness per se. I mean, maybe away from the house, that's where that belongs. But we're living here. I don't live here, but people are living here. And you want to be able to walk comfortably in and have the structure that makes you feel like you belong as well. So these living spaces are functional. You can have meetings out here if you want to. You can walk comfortably, roll a wheelbarrow over it, you know, that sort of thing. And you can always, even in the dead of winter, with the formal structural elements, you can always see something that looks finished.
She connects living spaces to the land with transitions that respect the connection. Between the casitas and the house, Jennifer restored prairie meadows with indigenous evergreen sculpture, wildflowers from spring through fall, native grasses, and naturalizing bulbs. Since the deer have free range, she protects young trees. The prairie emerges to the driveway courtyard. In the entrance bed, Jennifer gave expansive impact with trails that encourage rapport with each distinctive grouping. Evergreens provide structure until winter-dormant native perennials and seedlings fill it from spring to frost. In the front door courtyard, they wanted to embrace the house with intimacy. They direct rainwater into a dry creek bed. Not all plants are native, but are just as self-reliant. The kitchen courtyard's designed for entertaining, where guests can choose a close-up encounter or the broader picture. One outlook is to the bird sanctuary. Roxanne's vegetable garden is one spot protected from the wildlife they encourage.
Again, I think having a different place within your home for different things is nice. So the kitchen courtyard is more of an entertaining area, and then the front courtyard, to me at least, feels more private and serene. So you might sit there and read a book, or maybe not, but you might think about sitting there and reading a book at least. There's also a vegetable garden around the side, so there's, just like you have in your house, there's different rooms where you want to do different things. Here's where I sleep, here's where I cook, and etc. It's the same thing outside.
And in a garden of many rooms, she and Roxanne don't cast aside non-natives for seasonal color in containers.
I guess more towards, again, the formal areas with the patios and that sort of thing. I feel more comfortable using non-natives because I feel like it's more of a piece of art, or you're trying to achieve something that you maybe can't find the right native plant to do that thing. So you want it to look in a certain way.
Jennifer designed the artwork centerpiece that unites the casita patios. Water conservation is paramount to them. Rainwater collection supports plants until they're established. In extreme drought, another spigot to well water is available when necessary. But for the Yates and Jennifer, their restoration works with the seasons, whatever they bring. From gardens to natural spaces, the rhythm of change connects them to the land where they live.
I like to see the garden change throughout the year. So one of my favorites is the heartleaf skullcap over there because it makes kind of a nice ground cover. It's pretty young right now. It hasn't really come in to the full extent that it will later on, but throughout the winter it'll typically be this beautiful low ground cover, and then in the spring shoot up and give you the flowers, but then it goes away in the summer, and it makes room for other things like Turk's cap and inland sea oats, and those kind of balance one another out so that you get to see a changing garden throughout the year and always be surprised by something.
Well, that was one of the gardens that's going to be on the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center's tour coming up here in Austin. And that was shot during wintertime. Just imagine what that looks like now with all of the wildflowers coming on. I know that you're going to enjoy the tour. Joining me to talk about it is Andrea DeLong-Amaya from the Wildflower Center.
Hello, Tom.
Always fun to have you on the show. This is like, what, the 5th or 6th year?
This is our 6th garden tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's the 6th time we've had this conversation, which is great. And it's become an important calendar day for Austin gardeners. One of those fun treats to go around, meet other gardeners.
Well anticipated, yeah. You know, I anticipate it. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's garden tours are a blast, and it's because you see how other people respond to the different challenges in such creative ways.
Yeah, and to see the whole diversity is really fun. Absolutely.
Well, let's give people the who, what, where, when piece real briefly, and then we'll dive in and talk about the individual gardens.
So the tour will be the Saturday before Mother's Day. We always have it on Mother's Day weekend. It's a really good thing to do with your mother or your friends too.
Perfect time.
Perfect timing. And then it'll be that Saturday from 9 to 5. And tickets can be purchased at any of the gardens or at several different garden centers or the Wildflower Center, and also on our website.
Okay, when you say the different garden centers, I know people are out. This is a busy time of year. They're at the nurseries. Let's give them.
Yeah, so Barton Springs Nursery is one, the Great Outdoors, Plant Escapes, Shoal Creek.
Yeah.
Pots and plants, I believe.
Okay, good. Lots of opportunity there to pick up tickets. So when you're checking out of the nurseries, just keep your eye on the lookout.
Yeah, they'll be on sale later in the month of April.
Okay, okay. And nice diversity. We saw the one piece, and again, that's kind of a quiet winterscape that we saw. But again, May, boy, it's going to be completely different.
There's going to be a lot to see. A lot of salvias, the forms that you saw in the pictures there, even in the wintertime, having the agaves and the yuccas and the grasses. But they have a pretty nice little wildflower meadow area that I presume will be full of stuff to see then.
Well, believe me, May is one of our good months.
Yeah,
it's coming into that peak really. Now let's step people through some of the different gardens. A couple in Terrytown, very close to one another. The first of these that we'll talk about is on Bridle Path, and this is a garden that's in a lot of shade, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels very, very woodsy. It's under the shade of some pretty large live oaks. The designer, actually it's her own residence too. She lives there, and it used to be just St. Augustine and a circle drive, and she's taken that out and terraced it in order to slow the water runoff. And each of those terraces is full of all kinds of interesting, mostly native plants, lots of understory trees. Very beautiful space.
That's such a good strategy, is terracing, and and you capture that water with the roots of your plants. It's a good way to work with Mother Nature.
Everybody's happy. And the stone that she used for those terraces actually came out of the property when they were doing construction.
Well, it's beautiful field stone, and I love the way that the terraces feel very naturalistic. So it's got a woodlands kind of front yard, but I understand the backyard's a little more formal.
Yeah, Yeah, so you go through a gate, and there's a side yard that has a lawn and a fireplace, and then the back, sandwiched between their house and the studio, is several seating areas and a nice trough water fountain that's very, very serene.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun
It's
to
beautiful.
visit, too. Now, around the corner, as I said, on Forest Trail, is another garden, and this is one with big sweeping lines.
Yeah, this is an interesting project too. So the people who live at the place have purchased the property next door to them, and so it's a long, skinny lot. It was kind of an awkward shape, and what they've done with it is created some nice flowing beds, kind of surrounding a lawn area, and the surrounding beds give privacy and lots of interest into the garden. They have kids, so the kids get to play and enjoy the garden as well.
Sure, so that's that's a good excuse to have a little lawn space for kids to romp on, right?
Yeah, yeah. And they have a pond. And what's also interesting is they share this garden space with their neighbors on the other street.
Yeah.
So their backyards kind of butt up against each other. So it's a great way to be communal and share that space with your kids and families.
It extends your sense of space, and it's a good way to be neighborly too. You know, so once a fence goes up, they're not your neighbors anymore. they're just the people on the other side of the fence.
Right.
So I think that's really great, and it has, to me, this has some of that classic Austin look with the cut stone mixed with the kind of the.
It fits in with the Tarrytown neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
It does.
Really nice. The next one we're going to talk about is located down close to the Wildflower Center. This is in the southwest part of town, and it's on Shady Hollow. Let's talk a little bit about this one. It's almost entirely native plants, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is another smallish garden. Again, good scale for people who are looking for ideas of what they might do at home. In fact, the homeowners themselves designed a good chunk of the garden. They did hire a landscape design company to do some parts of it, particularly in the back.
I'll bet they'll be happy to talk about the experience too.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's always fun to meet the people who actually did the design.
Yeah. So lots of plants that are good for attracting hummingbirds and butterflies. And
And I like the kind of the naturalistic flow that I see in the images. The gravel pathways with lots of the soft grasses and other kinds of plants spilling over the edges. Very nice. And I think that's kind of a classic Austin look.
Yeah.
So you can have well-defined spaces without them being too formal. And this space looks like it's going to be one of those.
It's comfortable. Yeah.
Right. Now, Rosedale is such a cute little neighborhood, and this, I have to say, the pictures I see of this garden look really cute, too.
It's a cute little garden. It's also a normal-sized lot. It's not a huge space. The house is very cute, and the landscaping fits it very well. Also designed by two different people, but they worked really well together, and they blended those areas nicely. A high percentage of natives again. The front yard is more cottagey looking, little trails going through. There's just lots of little things to see. And then the backyard has more lawn in it, and it has some nice seating areas, a little hidden bench, in a quiet corner, and there's also a pond back there too. Nice
place for a reflection and a place to provide those reflections, right? And the pond was designed by David Mahler, and I just want to put in a plug. I've seen David's work on a bunch of the Wildflower Center tours in the past. Incredible stonework on these ponds. It look like they're nature perfected, is the way I think of it. It's just like, it couldn't be more beautiful.
They look very natural in their setting, for sure.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Absolutely wonderful spaces. So this looks like a highlight to me in terms of the different,
and
they
it's
all
also,
look beautiful.
It's also certified wildlife habitat, which
cool.
is important.
That's great. And of course, whenever the Wildflower Center tour happens, the Wildflower Center is included as a part of the tour that day. So it's a great opportunity, right?
Absolutely, and several things to see. We've redesigned and replanted a few of the beds in the demonstration garden area, so people should come out and see that. It's brand new. And we also have a sculpture exhibit happening right now.
So it's a great way to pull the whole family together, bring mom and dad along.
Come out for lunch. Nice stroll. Hope for good weather.
And are all the homeowners going to be open to photography this year, do you know?
Yes.
So
pictures are allowed this year.
Pictures are allowed, and sometimes folks, understandably, are a little shy about that. I appreciate that, but The best thing about garden tours is not so much the gardens. From my perspective, it's meeting the gardeners, and this is a way to really get out there, get other ideas about gardening in this region. And one of the things I always tell people, if I ever teach design classes, I say the most important piece of advice I can give you is to visit gardens and steal the ideas.
And steal the ideas. And talking to the designers and the homeowners and what their challenges is, there's so many layers of detail that can be really enriching.
Right. Okay, now real briefly again, let's give the basic facts. You can buy tickets individually at the gardens.
That's true, yeah. You can go to several gardens, or you can do the whole package, or just one if you only have time for one.
But if you buy a book of the tickets, you get a discount, correct?
Yeah, it's a wristband. So if you go to all 6 gardens, the wristband is $25, and each individual garden is $6.
It's very reasonable.
Yeah.
A great way to spend.
And it's a good fundraiser for the Wildflower Center programs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I hope that you have great success. Lots of folks. Keep your fingers crossed for the weather. But
May
8th. Well, you know, it's past frost, but you never know about the rain. But you know, it's always seemed to work out.
It seems like we've had really good luck with the weather.
Okay.
It's been beautiful.
Well, Andrea, thanks again for being
Tom.
a guest on the program. It's always fun to visit with you. And coming up next, it's Daphne.
Hello and welcome to Down to Earth. Our question this week is another great one from one of our viewers, and it is what to do with an extremely overgrown hedge of shrubs. This can be very common, and it can be a very challenging situation to deal with if you haven't pruned your shrubs regularly. Very common shrubs in our landscapes are Elaeagnus, Photinia, Pittosporum, and Ligustrum. So these are often planted as hedges and can be challenges to deal with. But you don't want to hedge your Texas sages and other native plants that are being planted as hedges now in our landscapes, because those plants are not true hedges and they don't respond well to that pruning. With any plant that you're trying to prune, try not to remove more than 1/3 of that plant at a time. It does shock the plant when you prune it back very hard, unless it's dormant and it goes dormant to the roots, and then you would prune it back harder. These hedge shrubs can get often as tall as your house, but maybe you want it only 3 feet tall. So that's a problem. If you've planted it too close to your house or them too close together, you'll need to clean them out or remove some of them to get some air circulation in there and to keep them the height that you want. These plants are actively growing now, but it's still okay to prune them. Plants do respond to pruning by growing and breaking bud, especially hedges like this. These do require regular pruning, as I said, so you want to keep them in shape all season long rather than getting things out of control. Most have been planted too close to the house because, as I said, they are young when they're very small when they're young, and if they get this large, they can serve as a hiding place for animals and even burglars. So it's a situation you want to be very careful of. Our plant this week is Mexican olive, also known as Texas wild olive, Cordia boisseri. This plant is not related to the true olive, but it does produce edible fruit. Although I haven't eaten them, I heard they're not very tasty. This is a beautiful ornamental shrub and can also be trained as a small tree. It gets about 15 feet tall or a little taller and about 10 feet wide, so give it lots of width. If it's left alone, it will be very shrubby with a nice weepy habit that looks really nice in your landscape. This plant is native to South Texas, and so it might not be as hardy as you would think. It's listed as hardy to 20 degrees though. If you plant it on the south or west side of your home, it will likely make it through a winter even as harsh as the one we just had. This plant does need full sun to perform well, and it prefers well-drained soil, although it will tolerate some heavy clay in our soil as well. It's normally evergreen, which makes it great through our winters. It has a rather large, soft green fuzzy leaf, which makes it a nice textural element in our landscapes. It has huge, gorgeous white trumpet-shaped flowers, and it does flower continuously through late winter all the way through late summer. It attracts hummingbirds and butterflies, which many people are looking for now in their landscape. The fruit can be a little messy, and so watch if you plant it near a patio or a sidewalk and stay on top of those fruits so that it doesn't mess up your landscape. This plant does not respond well to being overwatered, which makes it great for drought-tolerant landscapes, but just be careful, especially if you have a heavy clay soil. To do in your garden this week, you want to finish up putting any vegetable transplants in. We are starting to get very warm, and summer will be here before we know it in our environment, if not on our calendars. You also want to go ahead and fertilize your roses again before it gets too hot as well. This would help them flower again for you through the summer and even through the fall next year. We'd love to hear from you, so send us your question or plant of the week from your garden. Just visit klru.org/CTG.
Thanks, Daphne. Now let's check in with John Dromgoole.
Hello, gardening friends. Welcome to Backyard Basics. A lot of new gardeners are out there. Thousands and thousands of people are gardening for the first time, and they're growing vegetables, that's for sure, but a lot of them are putting in their flower beds. And many of us have to deal with a heavy clay soil. You know, they make bricks out of it or clay pots out of it. It's really hard to dig in. And when it's wet, when you walk across it, you come out a little bit taller on the other side. You know, that clay soil right there. But you can fix it. And you can garden in that spot without introducing some more soil. So today I'm going to show you a few of the soil amendments that I like to use to help open up that soil, bring some life to it, and get it to drain well, and you can grow anything out there at that point. Some of the things that I like to use, this is a little bit of a pea gravel right here, a little bit smaller than a pea gravel, but look at that. That's a beautiful little product. It's got a lot of texture to it, and that's what you're going to need. And you would use a generous amount of it when you're in the garden out there. Not just a little bit, but at least 3 inches of this on top of the bed, and then you try to work it in about 8 or 10 inches, but put a generous amount in there. That's very, very important. So this is a very good little product, not impossible to find, and I like it a lot. It really does open up the soil. Another one that is available quite a bit is this decomposed granite sand. Now it's pretty good. I think that I would maybe screen it a little bit, but it has a lot of texture in there. It has a lot of small stones, and once again, about a 3-inch layer on top of the garden bed, and working it in very, very nicely is important, and that means down to another 8 or 10 inches. So a generous amount of this, and this one brings minerals in too, so it's a real neat little product, and it's locally available. You know, that's important when we're looking for sustainable gardens. We're looking for products that come from our immediate area, and so this granite sand does. You've probably seen this on the paths here and there. It can compact down, so you want to put it very well mixed into your soil. This is a way to fix that heavy clay soil. Very nice product, and a lot of people use this one because it's widely available. Another thing that you're going to need to add whenever you're opening the soil up is some good compost. This is a dairy compost right here. The dairy compost, it seems to be the one that lasts the longest in the soil. All of the proteins have been removed by the cattle, and so it doesn't break down so easily anymore. I mean cows. And so this is a good little product. It'll have some nutrients in it, some life in it. We need that life in the soil. That's a very, very important thing. That's one of the goals in repairing that heavy clay soil, is to bring a lot of life to it, because the microorganisms that are in there will secrete a glue-like substance, and they live in the air. They really need some important air in there. They're not anaerobic organisms, and so you really need to open it up. And that glue-like substance that they excrete binds the particles of clay together into a really nice tilth. So this is an important addition to this whole thing. This right here is expanded shale. Texas A&M did a lot of research, and the Arboretum up in Dallas. There are a lot of folks using this right here. It's a Texas product. It's shale. It's a little over 65 million years old. It's been around here a long time and does not break down. This is the stuff that's been sitting around here for the past 65 million at the end of the dinosaur age. This stuff was deposited in the soil when Texas was a huge lake. And so this is expanded shale. And so this works very, very well and stays there forever. It's not going to go anywhere. The next million years that you're gardening in that spot, it's going to drain very, very well. This is known as expanded shale. And it's really porous. It really is nice and open. So one of the other characteristics of this is you can use it in a sandy soil. So in a heavy clay soil, it'll provide the drainage, and in a sandy soil, it will hold moisture. It's very, very porous. I understand that it's nearly 38% of the weight of each stone here in moisture. Really nice way to do that. Expanded shale. This is probably, except for the compost, these two things would be my best choices, especially in some of those sandy soils. It's important to feed this kind of a soil. Bringing that life around there means everything. And there are many soil activators on the market, and that's what soil activators do. They feed the microorganisms that are in the soil, and that'll open it up, and you'll have a beautiful garden after you do this. For Backyard Basics, I'm John Dromgoole. I'll see you next time.
Visit klru.org/CTG to watch online, get more tips, and catch up with our blog. Next week, we look at double-duty plants. Until then, I'll see you in the garden.
To learn about today's program, watch online, and follow CTG's blog, check out klru.org/CTG.